Mazdak, the revolutionary priest of ancient Persia. Dive into the tumultuous world of Sassanian Persia, where religious reform and social upheaval collided. Join us as we explore the life and legacy of Mazdak, a Zoroastrian priest who dared to challenge the established order and whose ideas echo through the centuries. This podcast episode aims to provide an in-depth analytical exploration of Mazdakism, situating it within the historical, religious and social context of Sassanian Persia. We will examine the origins, theological tenets, ethical principles, and ultimate suppression of the movement, while also considering its lasting impact on subsequent religious and social movements in the region. Our goal is to offer a nuanced understanding of Mazdak and his followers, moving beyond simplistic portrayals and engaging with the complexities of the available historical evidence. Mazdak, also known as Mazdak the Younger, emerged as a prominent figure during the reign of the Sassanian Emperor Kavad I, 488-531 CE. He was a Zoroastrian Mobad, a priest, but he wasn't content with the status quo. He envisioned a reformed and purified version of Zoroastrianism, one that addressed the social and economic inequalities plaguing Persian society. His message resonated with many, particularly the lower classes who felt oppressed by the powerful clergy and nobility. Mazdak's teachings offered a vision of a more just and equitable world, where resources were shared and the burdens of poverty were lifted. But who was this man and what inspired his radical ideas? Mazdakism wasn't born in a vacuum. Some sources suggest that its origins can be traced back to earlier figures like Zaradust-e-Kuragan and Mazdak the Elder. These individuals preached a combination of altruism and hedonism, advocating for the enjoyment of life's pleasures, while also emphasizing good deeds and hospitality. This early form of Mazdakism laid the groundwork for the more radical teachings of Mazdak the Younger. It challenged the rigid social hierarchy and the perceived excesses of the Zoroastrian clergy, paving the way for a more egalitarian vision of society. But how did these early ideas evolve into the revolutionary movement that Mazdak led? Like Zoroastrianism and Manichaeism, Mazdakism embraced a dualistic cosmology. It posited the existence of two original principles: light, representing good, and darkness, representing evil. These two forces had become mixed in a cosmic accident, tainting everything except God. Light was characterized by knowledge, feeling, and free will, while darkness was ignorant, blind, and acted at random. According to Mazdak, humanity's role was to release the parts of themselves that belonged to light through good conduct. This dualistic framework provided a theological justification for Mazdak's ethical and social reforms. Mazdak's teachings went beyond mere theological speculation. He criticized the religious formalities and the powerful position of the mainstream clergy, whom he believed had oppressed the Persian population and caused widespread poverty. He emphasized good conduct, advocating for a moral and ascetic life, vegetarianism, and peaceful coexistence. His message resonated with those who felt marginalized and exploited by the existing social order. Mazdak's call for social revolution, often described as early communism, challenged the very foundations of Sassanian society. But what specific measures did he propose to achieve this radical transformation? Mazdak argued that God had originally intended for the means of subsistence to be divided equally among all people. However, the strong had coerced the weak, leading to domination and inequality. He identified 5 demons: envy, wrath, vengeance, need, and greed, as the forces that turned people away from righteousness. To overcome these evils, Mazdak proposed restoring justice by sharing excess possessions with others. While the exact details of his plan remain unclear, it seems he aimed to redistribute wealth and resources to create a more equitable society. This radical proposal, however, sparked fierce opposition from the wealthy elite and the Zoroastrian clergy. Hostile sources often accused Mazdak's followers of sharing women, leading to sexual promiscuity and confusion of lineage. However, scholars have questioned the veracity of these claims, suggesting they may be exaggerated or fabricated to discredit the movement. It's possible that Mazdak sought to address the widespread polygamy among the rich and the lack of wives for the poor, but the details remain murky. The accusation of sharing women highlights the challenges of interpreting historical sources that are often biased and incomplete. It's crucial to approach such claims with skepticism and consider the motivations of those who made them. But how did these accusations contribute to the downfall of Mazdakism? Mazdak's teachings gained significant traction, attracting a large following that even included King Kavadman himself. With the king's backing, Mazdak was able to implement a program of social reform, including pacifism, anti-clericalism, and aid programs for the poor. Government warehouses were opened to provide assistance, and Zoroastrian fire temples were closed, except for the 3 major ones. Kavad's support was crucial for the initial success of Mazdakism. It allowed the movement to challenge the established order and implement its radical social and economic reforms. However, this royal patronage also made Mazdakism a target for those who opposed the king and his policies. The nobility and Zoroastrian clergy grew increasingly fearful of Mazdak's influence and the threat he posed to their power and privilege. In 496 CE, they overthrew Kavad, briefly ending his reign. However, Kavad regained the throne 3 years later with the help of the Hephthalite Empire. This period of instability highlighted the deep divisions within Sassanian society and the precariousness of Mazdak's position. While Kavad's return to power initially seemed to solidify Mazdakism's position, it ultimately proved to be a turning point. Scared by the resistance he faced, Kavada chose to distance himself from Mazdak. He allowed his son, Anushiravan, to launch a campaign against the Mazdakites in 524 or 528 CE. This campaign culminated in a massacre of most of the adherents, including Mazdak himself, and the restoration of Orthodox Zoroastrianism as the state religion. The purge of the Mazdakites was a brutal and decisive event. It effectively crushed the movement and erased its influence from the official record. However, the ideas of Mazdakism continued to resonate in the shadows, influencing later religious and social movements. Fictionalized accounts of the execution of Mazdak and his followers abound. The Shahnameh, for example, claims that 3,000 Mazdakites were buried alive with their feet upwards to create a human garden, while Mazdak himself was hanged upside down and shot with arrows. These gruesome tales, while likely exaggerated, reflect the deep animosity towards Mazdakism and the desire to eradicate its memory. These stories serve as a reminder of the violence and brutality that often accompany religious and social conflict. They also highlight the power of narrative in shaping historical memory and demonizing dissenting voices. A Jewish tradition offers a different perspective on the events surrounding Mazdakism. According to this account, the Exilarch of Babylon, Mar Zutra II, rallied the Jewish community and their allies, defeated Mazdak, and established an independent Jewish kingdom in Mahoza that lasted for 7 years, 495-502 CE. This alternative narrative challenges the dominant Zoroastrian and Islamic accounts of Mazdakism, suggesting that there were other actors and perspectives involved in the conflict. It also highlights the complex and often overlooked role of Jewish communities in the history of Sassanian Persia. The historicity of Mazdak himself has been questioned by some scholars. They argue that he may have been a fabrication created to deflect blame from Kavad for the social and economic upheaval of the time. Contemporary historians like Procopius and Joshua the Stylite do not mention Mazdak, instead attributing the movement directly to Kavad. The lack of contemporary evidence raises important questions about the reliability of later sources and the challenges of reconstructing the past. It also underscores the importance of critical analysis and the need to consider alternative interpretations of historical events. Despite its suppression, Mazdakism left a lasting legacy. Small pockets of Mazdakite societies are said to have survived for centuries after the Muslim conquest of Persia. Their doctrines likely mixed with radical currents of Shia Islam, influencing later revolutionary religious movements in the region. The Quraymites, an egalitarian religious sect possibly originating from Mazdakism, led a major revolt against the Abbasid Caliphate in the 9th century. Other revolutionary currents of Islam, such as the Batiniya and Karmatians, may also have been connected to Mazdakism. Turkish scholar Abdulbaki Gulpinarli sees the Kizilbash of the 16th century, a radical Shi'i movement that helped establish Twelver Islam in Iran as spiritual descendants of the Quraymites and hence of the Mazdakites. The term Mazdakist became a derogatory label used to describe any radical egalitarian movement in Iranian history. This lineage of descent highlights the enduring appeal of Mazdak's ideas and their ability to inspire resistance against oppressive regimes. It also demonstrates the complex and often hidden connections between different religious and social movements throughout history. Even in the modern era, Mazdak's ideas continue to resonate. The philosopher and poet Muhammad Iqbal, who inspired the Pakistan movement, termed Karl Marx as the modern reincarnation of Mazdakite thought. He drew parallels between Marxism and Mazdak's emphasis on redistribution of wealth, social revolution, and the reduction of religious formalities. Iqbal's comparison of Mazdak and Marx underscores the enduring relevance of questions about social justice and economic equality. It also highlights the ways in which historical figures and movements can be reinterpreted and reappropriated in different contexts. Mazdak remains a controversial and enigmatic figure. Was he a visionary reformer who sought to create a more just and equitable society, or a dangerous heretic who threatened the foundations of Sassanian civilization? The answer, as with most historical questions, is complex and nuanced. Regardless of one's interpretation, Mazdak's story offers a fascinating glimpse into a turbulent period of Persian history and raises important questions about the nature of power, the role of religion, and the enduring struggle for social justice. His legacy continues to inspire debate and discussion, reminding us that the past is never truly dead. We encourage you to delve deeper into the world of Mazdakism. Explore the primary sources, engage with scholarly debates, and form your own informed opinions about this fascinating and controversial figure. Share this episode with fellow history enthusiasts, religious scholars, and researchers. Let's keep the conversation alive and continue to explore the complexities of the past. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast for more in-depth explorations of history's most intriguing figures and movements.